Because people forget he was the coach in Revenge of the Nerds way back in the day.
Yeah,
And his
damn, you're right. He was. I forgot that. I want to get this dog. There's got to be some way to buy this online. I want it.
well, you're a photographer as well, right? So like, what kind of pictures do you take? He's like, well, I take kids' pictures at Value Mart.
Happened in the 90s.
Ed Asner's in this, Steve?
Betty White. I think it fell under the radar because it sucked, though.
No. I think you're wrong.
That's not why.
I'm gonna go ahead and just fucking argue that.
You sure? Are you positive? That's not the reason why.
Dude, I'm telling you, you watch this. I mean, it's not like it's not like I'm gonna win an Oscar, but I would say it's
Razzie, maybe.
It's a nice action movie. If you sit down, it comes on TV. It's one of those where you're like, you know what? I'm cool with that. I wasted my time on this. I'm good.
It has Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, Betty White, Ed Asner, and Minnie Driver. And I just heard about the movie, Matt, a week ago.
I'm sorry. I mean, you weren't looking though. I'm telling you.
Are you sure it's not because it's a really horrible movie?
I'm gonna say, hold your tongue, because trust the Slate dog and what he's got to bring to the table. And if I'm not mistaken, Steve, I think this might be one of Morgan Freeman's few villain roles too. I think he's a villain in it.
Oh.
So I'm just saying, you poo-poo this, and I get it. It's some guys, there's a flood, boats, bank robbery, but throw a little Slater and a little Ed Asner and just a dash of an evil Morgan Freeman into that little pot, and you come out with like what I would say, if I had to give you a percentage, it's like a 75% movie. You know, it's not even like a B, but it's one that you're not like, Jesus Christ, dude, what happened here?
Now, you want to talk about evil Morgan Freeman? I'll give you an evil Morgan Freeman movie to watch. It is the one where he's a pimp and Christopher Reeve is in it. And in one scene, he slaps Christopher. He actually like punks Christopher Reeve throughout the movie. And it's an 80s movie. I can't remember if it's called like Mean Street or something like that. But I'd rather watch that than Hard Rain.
I mean, I don't even blame you, because that sounds amazing. Morgan
Freeman's a
pimp, and he pimp slaps Superman. That sounds pretty boss, Steve.
Man, I think it was available on Max at one point.
I mean, I'm with you. I'm not even arguing that. I can't argue with that. Of course, I'd rather watch Morgan Freeman as a pimp slap somebody in the face, especially, no disrespect to Superman, just because of the visibility. It's just amazing, Steve.
Like, where are you going to see that every day? Street Smart. That's the name of the movie.
Okay, I was going to say Mean Streets. I think that's that ain't it. That's like a very famous movie, I think. Mean Streets.
Yeah. 1987 it came out. So like he had already been Superman. We had already known him as Superman at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those people. It's like Mark Hamill, or people that are like so prolific in that one role, and you don't even remember that they were in other movies. You know, like I didn't know he did anything else other than Superman. To be honest with you, Steve.
Right. Dude, you know somebody who was crushing the 90s and kind of like hidden in plain sight? I kind of feel like we took him for granted. John Goodman.
Oh, yeah, like, dude.
Obviously, we know he's a legend, but I feel like he's not talked about enough. Like even in the conversations that are had about the man, there could be more because, dude, we were just talking about him as he was Robot Santa in Futurama.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think what I love most about John Goodman, there's no role that he can't do. He's funny. He's very intense. He likes to make jokes and joke on himself. And he's also just like a good dramatic actor. He's been in all those types of movies and he's always killed it. So I'm right there with you. I don't think he's flown under any radar, but maybe he doesn't get the propers that he deserves, though. I agree with that.
Because he was killing it, man.
He still is. I mean, he still is.
The man didn't take a year off in the 90s.
I saw an interesting thing about him. He was like in this movie that was related. Remember that Cloverfield movie? He was in like some kind of sequel about that, where I think he had some like kids held hostage in like a bunker or something. but they were talking about how he acts and like how he literally can scare the fuck out of people because of how intense he gets when he's like in the middle of some stuff. Like the two younger actors were in like some sort of kitchen scene with him and he like freaks the fuck out and took them both. They were like, it was terrifying. We thought he was literally pissed at us and was like attacking us and stuff. I mean, it's crazy because I would be interested to hear what his favorite role is for you. Because for me, it's still 90s, but it's Big Lebowski.
Man, for me, it's difficult because people forget he was the coach in Revenge of the Nerds way back in the day.
Yeah,
In
he
his
damn, you're right. He was. I forgot that.
in his skinnier days, man. And that was 84 when that movie came out. So I
He's
mean, I
also
would
King Ralph, Steve. He's also King Ralph.
King Ralph, and he was killing the spiders in Arachnophobia, and he was Fred Flintstone for what it's worth. I would probably have to say Dan Connor, just off of familiarity. He did well in those Coen brother movies, did amazing work with the Coen brothers, but I think Dan Connor, that's the one. Like Roseanne is my comfort food. I'm just realizing that's like my or one of them.
I mean, that's probably the trophy. That's what got him his full fucking like propers for sure. I think Arachnophobia is kind of where he started to really get like uh
Comical.
yeah, and I think it's just more he got a lot of notoriety from that. He played like sort of a wacky character in that, so he got himself like in there. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Roseanne. I love me some Dan Connor in that show. It's to me the best episodes are the ones that are like kind of either hulks out on somebody or just like Dan centric in some way. Yeah, I got to go Big Lebowski, dude. Him with that flat top,
That's
just
up there.
I mean, constantly freaking the fuck out. I love that. And also just to bring it up to current, that show Righteous Gemstones, he's fantastic in that show.
Yeah, I started on that. I gotta reboot it, but
Yeah.
we talk about TV dads a lot, man, and we don't bring him up enough, man. Dan Connor, I would say, man, he's easily top 10 of all time. Top 5 if we're talking just 90s, for sure, for sure.
Top one if you need to get some ass kicked, honestly, because he's ready to throw down at all times, Steve.
Well, that's what Uncle Phil is there for too. He can hold it
Damn,
down.
can you imagine a tag team with Uncle Phil and Dan Connor, dude? The Twin Towers? Fucking vicious and delicious. I don't know which is which. Yeah, dude.
Good job,
Yeah.
Soul Bros.
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude, Blues Brothers or some shit. I don't know, but hell yeah, dude. The Titans. Yeah, shout out, dude. I love that. I wonder, like, what other roles has he had? Because I know he's done so much more. In fact, we're about to talk about a movie he's in that I'm just realizing is a
Exactly.
dope ass movie too. So, hell yeah. All right, I'll shut up.
Hey, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Heavy D and the boys and your Toe Jam and Earl. Cause I want to talk to Samson. Send me to the moon like that bitch Alice crammed it. Cause it's hard being black and gifted. Sometimes I just want to throw it all down there and get lifted.
Seems like I got the whole town in lockdown. Fuck, dude.
Got my
love
weed,
it,
got my
Steve.
bong out.
Come on, weed man. Come smoke with me, man. Oh, I love it.
Well, today, my friend, we're talking all things 116 in the 90s. Starting off in 1994, Martin is airing season 2, episode 17, Suspicious Minds. After someone steals Martin's new CD player, he accuses everyone, including Gina, of the theft. Oh, finally, the day
We made
is
it.
here.
This might be it, Steve. I teeter-totter between this, Chilligan's Island, and when Tommy and Pam are revealed as a couple. Those episodes, Steve.
And outside of Martin, this is the funniest moment for me in sitcom history. Like Dave Chappelle, like the Rick James thing, that's the funniest thing to me in television. Sitcom wise, this right here, man. As
This
far
is
as
it.
replay value, I still lose my shit, man. And I love the proper send off to New Jack City, the infamous scene with Nino. Sit your popular sound. Make change.
Dig the style. Definitely need to get me some black turtlenecks. missing that. I wanted to wear that for the show, but just don't got any right now, Steve. I'm working on that.
with the herringbone, man, freaking like a la Suge Knight.
Hell yeah, dude. Just a pinky ring on, just fucking flexing. I like that. I like that for us.
I don't know why we got to go pink, but so the crew, they're all at the house, and they just had a great dinner. Everybody's complimenting Gina. She threw down in the kitchen, and Cole mentions like, "Yeah, man, it was good, just like the last dinner." Then Martin had to show off his new stereo speaker, and Martin, knowing the kind of guy he is, he just glow, yeah, with the surround sound, yeah.
Yeah, dude. There's something so gives you so much satisfaction when you get that new shit, you get to show it off. The serotonin you get off that. I love that feeling.
I know you love that, Matt, because here,
Always.
freshman year, you were always that guy. You
Hey,
were
dude.
always that guy. If it wasn't the Chris C guy with the plants, it would be you with the technology. You would always have the new movies. You'd have the first person to get the GameCube because you're the only one with the job.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Giant Eagle. Appreciate that.
They hooked you
Yeah,
up.
I mean, hey, definitely. But I get it. That's all I'm saying. I get Martin's perspective, but it is kind of shitty too at some point, depending on how you treat it. So Gina clearly understands this and is like, I know you're not gonna like talk about anything, or like, no, he brings up something else, or like he kind of gets shitty about it because he's like, oh, you think I'm just like a braggadocious person? You think that's me?
I'm hurt. Well, you're right. Bet out. Get to looking.
Yeah. So he's got the brand new Discman, Steve, and I remember that day too. I remember when I got my little personal CD player. That shit, it lasted way too long, to be honest with you, because it then became my car CD player for a long time with that little tape joint.
Yeah, that was a little transition period between like the 2000s, early 2000s going into mid 2000s. Like all cars still haven't like got CD players yet.
Yeah, we were very far from that in the Concorde, but I remember it. Everyone's like, "Oh, cool," but he's like, oh, you can tell he wants to say something. And Gina's like, "Do not talk about how much it costs. It's trashy." And he's like, I wasn't going to do that. I'm not going to
Well,
do that at all."
well, then what are the features? I'm glad you asked. The most important feature is none of your broke asses can afford it. Now let's change subject. Well, let's change subject. Let's not do all that. Pam, she chimes in. I got a commission for $300. Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, good. Yeah, go ahead, Pam. Oh, for another 100, you can get yourself one of these, girl.
400 ducats, Steve. That's a goddamn. I don't remember
Yeah,
them shits being that expensive, but damn.
for real. Even in '94.
I had an Iowa. Maybe that was the off-brand one, but I mean, damn, 400. If the Gettix were like strapping that much cash out, salute.
That should have been a home theater system for 400.
Yeah, I think he got taken, Steve. But we go to the credits. He's got his. He feels great about himself. But cut back. Gina's working in the apartment. Martin's just taking a look at that little CD club catalog, Steve.
Oh yeah,
10 CDs
Columbia.
for a dollar or whatever it is. And they got everything. They got fucking Live, they got Soundgarden. Oh, look here. Ike Turner's greatest hits, Steve.
Oh man, I hear they got a nice beat.
But no matter what he gets, Steve, the shit's gonna sound crispy as hell because he just got that new CD player.
And he grabs the box as he's saying that, and there's no rattle. There's not a jingle. There's nothing in that box.
He rips that shit open. Is like, oh, okay, Gina, I get it. Hilarious. Take Martin's shit. I get it. Hilarious. Where's it at? She's like, I didn't take your shit.
I can't touch it. I can't afford to touch it. Remember? Oh yeah, right. That's a good one, Gina. No, but for real though.
Yeah, where's it at? And he realized, oh, I got jacked. Oh. So then, I mean, he has to go to work. He's at WZUP. He's talking to Stan. And he got jacked, Steve. Stan's got some thoughts,
Yeah, and I mean, even
We
Sean
get it.
tells him a story about how he got ripped off. Man, somebody broke into his trailer, stole 10 pounds of spam. Then Stan he mentions it could be an inside job. Let me tell you about me and my best friend. We were brothers. We was tight. We was thick as thieves. And then one day, for some strange reason, I slept with his wife, and we were best friends, Martin.
I mean, Stan, always a pleasure. But he does think it's an inside job. And that kind of gets stuck in Martin's head because he's like, I don't think they do that. But Stan's like, think about it. Who were the only people who know about this thing? And he's like, Gina, my buddies. Okay. He's like, who would have access to it? And it all starts adding up, Steve. It has to be. That's all signs point to an inside job. Who else could it be?
And maybe this is being an adult in the 90s thing, but when Stan asks him who all has a copy of your key, he says Gina, Tommy, Cole, and Pam. It's like, I love my friends,
Hell
but like
no.
out of that collective, the only one who's getting a copy is my girl. Like,
Yeah, dude.
I'm not getting a copy from my buddies. Like,
No, I'm sorry, Steve. You call, you can come over whenever. You ain't getting a copy of the key. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I love you, but
yeah, I get it.
I didn't really place that, but you are right. That's weird. Maybe Pam just like, if you feel.
If you're trying to be devious,
Yeah, I mean, Stan clearly not the best friend, but it's got some good advice, Steve. I feel like, it makes a lot of sense at least. And Martin feels like that's true. And instead of doing his show, he has to take the rest of the day off to whoop some ass, basically. He's got to figure this out.
yeah. And mistakenly, he leaves his wallet behind. And Stan, he's about to call him back. He's like, "Hey, Martin, you forgot your wallet." And then even Sean's like, "You got to break me off of that, or I'm telling."
You owe me. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's unscrupulous employees here at WZUP, Steve. I don't like that. I don't like that for Martin at all. But cut back to Martin's. He's talking to Gina about his suspicions, and Gina's just really not. She's not buying it, Steve.
Why would your friend steal from you? It's like, what? I feel like, you know what? These days, I don't even know my friends. Baby, I don't even know what Tommy does for a living.
It's
And then
true.
Gina, yeah, I mean, yeah. And then Gina's like, look, Pam is no thief. She's a spy, all right?
Yeah, but he's like, I don't know that. I don't even know if she's human. Have you checked the back teeth, Gina? But he's not getting any help from his woman right now. He's it's out of control. So he's got to play Columbo here, Steve. So he decides to go over to Nipsey's and do a little one-on-one interrogation with each of these people, in a neutral environment, Steve. So first up, he's treating Cole to just some dinner. As always, Cole just annihilating some food. Martin's asking a lot of questions, and Cole's like, kind of starts questioning. He's like, Cole, the truth shall set you free. So Cole's like, oh, okay, I get it. You talk about my hemorrhoids because I got a lot. They're all over the place. They're just coming out at this
Brother.
point.
Yeah, so let me know what can I do about that? Like, man, look, man, I'm not here to talk about your hemorrhoids. You got dreams, man? Oh yeah, I got dreams. I got big goals. You got things you're trying to do in life? Yeah. I want to be one of those brothers that loads all the sandwiches in the airport vending machines.
Yeah, you could just do that, Cole. Nah, he can't just do that because they're in some sort of like highfalutin union, Steve.
Yeah.
Costs $400 just to get in. Oh, just fucking write that down on his little pad. $400. That's interesting. That's a nice little coincidence for Mr. Hemorrhoid.
Yeah. You do anything for that 400, huh? Anything for Coley Cole.
I like how Martin, while he's saying that, looks direct. He's like right at the camera.
And then he has a one-on-one with Tommy at Nipsey's, and Tommy's like, man, what is it you want to see me about? Oh, what's the rush, Tommy? Come on, Mar, you know me, man.
Man, I don't even know where you work, Tommy. Come on, man. You know where I work. That building downtown.
You picked me up from work. Tommy, it was a big white building with no sign and no windows. Tommy, I'm not even sure you came out the building. Where
Oh,
you work?
okay.
So is that where you still work? Nah, I got a new job. Where you work now? Oh, across the street at the black building.
Man, what the hell is going on, Tom? I think he's a CIA operative, Steve. But Martin also, along with these questions, you just asking questions to sort of view the perp, Steve. So he's sitting there looking at him. He's like, it's a nice little watch you got on there, Tommy. Is that a new watch? What is this? New coat, new leather jacket. That must cost you a lot of money. Where you get all the money for that? And then Tommy gets into like this almost like weird like YouTube celebrity energy where he's like, "Look, Martin, if you need something, there's always a way to afford it." It's like one of those. Where he's Matthew Lesko at this point, Steve.
And then he does like a little sinister laugh afterwards, which doesn't help the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
Always a way, dog.
Yeah.
And then, the top dog shows up, Steve. Pam shows up. She's at Nipsey's and she's incredulous. She's like, why am I here? We got nothing in common. And Martin's like, that's not true at all. We're both built like men. So
Don't flatter yourself, Martin.
But as they're talking and giving each other shit, we do find out that they have, and this again makes me love Pam even more. Huge fan of Kung Fu flicks, notably starring Jim Kelly, the cool black dude from Enter the Dragon.
Black Belt Jones?
Hell
Read the
yeah.
hard way? Man, you come straight out of a comic book.
Yeah, but it's almost like they're vibing too much and they both realize it. And so they're just like, ugh. Buckshot. I forget what he says, but they start insulting each other.
Smelling like boiled bologna? No, that's your feet eating through your shoes. Oh, fine. Okay. Oof. I don't like you and you still don't have a man.
But Pam does end the conversation by saying, like, if I want some, I just take it. And that's a little, write that note down, Steve.
Touche for BDB.
So now Martin's collected his evidence. And you gotta assemble the squad and to make this, you gotta really put some drama into it. So they have a roundtable meeting, Steve. It's kind of dark, it's stormy. It's just a vibe going on in the apartment. Everyone's just sort of in black. The apartment's dark, and then Martin comes out of nowhere, just out of the shadows, looking like Nino Brown, Steve.
Yeah, with this dog sitting right there. And, Pam, she was like, why did you have us come out here when you know it's thundering? I'm setting up my scene.
Yeah, dude. And he's got some news about his CD player. He says that. Everyone gets up to leave. He's like, Cole, sit your $5 ass down before I make some change. And Cole's like, oh.
$5? Anybody got change? $5? And he's like, I know who stole my CD player. And the person is in this room right now.
Nobody's saying shit, Steve. So
he pets the dog. Yeah. At first he's petting the dog, then he sicks it on everybody.
Tommy he's looking right at like the camera, so he can't hide, but he's trying not to laugh the whole time, Steve.
He's struggling. Tommy is struggling throughout this scene, man.
It's a demon dog. I want to get this dog. There's got to be some way to buy this online. I want it. I do also love at one point he sits it down on the ground. He's like, sit. And it falls over because it's not alive. He's like, lay down and just goes back into the sea. Everyone's like, oh shit. At one point, even Tommy, I do like he like tries to pray to God to stay a character. Also, I've noted that. Martin goes at Cole first in this little thing, and he's like $400 for your little breadcrumb union shit. It's a little suspicious. Cole's like, man, I was just talking. Plus, the man would never give me that kind of power. So I would love. Also, Steve, I do have to say, if that's a real job, I feel like that would be a dope ass job. I just got to say that right now. Filling up sandwich machines, it's pretty dope.
I mean, not in Atlanta airport.
Cole points to Pam, get the attention off him, and he's like, she could have stolen it by hiding in her weave, which Pam hates. She doesn't like that.
Yeah, what about you, Pam? When you see something, you want to take it, and then she passes it off to Tommy. You always wear flashy clothes. What do you do, bruh?
Yeah, and then Tommy gets up after some you know nudging, and Martin's like, we ain't going to the physical, bruh.
Ain't
Sit
gonna be
down.
no threatening with the physical.
Yeah. He's ready to go, Steve. But Martin notices that Gina actually, she's been kind of quiet. And then he notices even further that, hey, is that my shirt you're wearing? Turns out Gina stole this motherfucker's shirt. So if she's willing to do that, Steve, I mean, a
Right under
CD
your
player?
nose.
God
Yeah.
damn.
See,
So
this is what happens.
and Martin's like, dude, why would you do this to me, Gina? I would have given you anything. I would have given you hips if I could. Anything. But they start to argue, and the whole room starts arguing, Steve.
Because she blames it back on Tommy, and then that's when the whole room goes up to an uproar. And then while that's going on, bruh man climbs in, and Martin notices this, and he's like, "Bruh man, what's up?" None. Just looking for some Jello.
And he tells him to leave, but right before Bruh Man does leave, he puts a CD player on the ground. So he's the culprit, Steve. We never even thought of it, Bruh
I
Man?
like, yeah, he's like, man, thanks for letting me borrow your CD player. It was all that. Yeah, I borrowed it the other night. Had this little honey over. You ain't
Man,
get the note.
how would I get a note, Bruh Man? Where was the note at? Man, I left it under your sink in the bathroom. Man, how would I even see that note, man? Man, I thought it would be the only place you look. On the counter, I used up all your toilet paper. Fucking bro,
Yeah.
man, dude. Have you ever had somebody like this, Steve? You ever
We both did. His name is Blue.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. But he wasn't as friendly with it, I feel like. Bro man seems like just it's all good, You forgive it.
Yeah, not nobody like this. I guess I just didn't want to allow myself around anyone like this.
Bro man, education.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think Blue just imposed himself on everyone. But he does his slow bop back out the window, and then Martin turns to the crew. He's like, "I need you."
Yeah, and that's what happens, Steve. You assume things, shit goes haywire, but then we cut to Nipsey's, and shit's going real haywire in there because of one Martin Payne. Kinda is there in the form of Stan with Martin's credit card, just buying all the shit, Steve. Champagne, caviar, hot wings. Everyone's getting them. I'm
Stan
there.
and Sean.
Yeah. Put that on Martin Payne's card, please. Are you the Martin Payne from the radio? I sure am. What's up?
And I look forward to this like I look forward to covering Doggy Style, covering Home Alone, covering the Ninja Turtles movie. This was anticipated. And,
We've
I
been
don't,
talking about this episode personally for decades.
yeah,
That's how good this is. And we're going to be 80-year-old men someday, Steve, God bless, and still talking about it. It's that good.
it's that damn good, man. And once again, it points to the brilliance of the Martin Lawrence train that was chewing all throughout the 90s, man. Like this was supposed to be only used in dress rehearsal, as the prop. In the real version, they were going to use a real dog, but the writers, whoever, they decided to keep the prop dog, and he just made lemonade with those lemons.
That's his thing, man. He'll make it happen no matter what. Give him a set with a couple of bushes and an ATM machine, and you're going to get 5 minutes of gold no matter what. So I can't wait. I don't even know what to wait for, actually, that we haven't covered, because I think we've covered Chilligan's Island. We've covered this. All I got left is Tommy and Pam being revealed to Martin, Steve.
We covered that episode.
Did we? Okay, well, there we go. We're
We've
so
done that many
prolific.
episodes. Yes.
We're so
Um,
prolific.
I mean, what's next, or one of the things that's next, man, is his SNL episode. We got to cover that when it does come up.
Some of my bitches.
'Cause, yeah, outside the monologue and how, like, you know, a big deal it was made, the actual episode was great, man, from beginning to end.
Even the way that they cut it, when you got to see like the edited where like cut from him being like, some of y'all need to, and it goes to a black
Yeah.
screen, and it's like, at this point in the episode, Martin decided to talk about women's hygiene or something like very fucking PC, and it's very hilarious. So
That part, yeah. On that same day in '94, the George Carlin Show debuts on Fox. Follows New York cab driver George O'Grady. He adds his theories on government conspiracies and alien visitations to his trips. 2 seasons, 27 episodes, man.
yeah, I don't remember this, and I feel like I would have watched it. I'm a huge Carlin fan, but I don't remember this show.
Yeah, I think all episodes are available on YouTube. I watched a couple of them, and you're going to like the show because it's George Carlin, man. You know, he infuses the show with his like humor. You know, things that you would probably hear from his bits, or in the, well, you know, for cable standards of the '90s.
Yeah,
You know, he can't go full George, but
yeah,
it,
the
it,
same
it was
pay per
fine.
view.
But I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, I don't think he felt comfortable doing this, man. Like, because he's not a sitcom guy, and he's been vocal, but he's kind of like a Bill Hicks in a way, where like I think Bill Hicks was offered a sitcom, and he's like, dude, no, that's just not my purpose.
Yeah, and you got to respect that too. People that are aware of that, where they're just like, I know this is the dream that everybody in my profession has, but this shit, it doesn't fit what I do. So it's cool they gave him a show. I mean, it's crazy he didn't have more opportunities to do that, but maybe that's why. You know, he was just like, I know what I do. It's not going to work on TV unless you give me like a HBO show or something, which, I mean, all of his comedy specials that
All
I
of them,
remember are so fucking good, you know?
every one of them, man. But yeah, dude, as fans, we would have loved to see more of this for George Carlin, man. Just, you know, more material. But
He had some good roles in movies, especially Kevin Smith movies. He played some funny roles in a lot of like Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob. He was like a guy who gives head to truckers to hitchhike. Rules of the road.
I don't know if you ever saw him on Tough Crowd. He made a couple cameos on that too. Had
Oh,
Colin Quinn. And,
I don't remember that, but I bet he was killer on that.
oh yeah, everything he touches, man. R.I.P. to that legend. 1996, Frasier is airing season 3, episode 11, The Friend. Frasier sends out a radio call for a new friend and ends up meeting Bob, a barbecue-obsessed photographer. Frasier can't stand the man's company, but because Bob is in a wheelchair, feels too guilty to dump him.
This is great. Another great episode. 2 of my favorite sitcoms of all time, and one happened in the 90s. I'm in heaven right now. This isn't one of my favorites, but it's very effective, Steve. I
It's
feel like it
hilarious,
does a
though.
great job, and it's hilarious. And I do want to point out before we get into it that, you know, we bring up TV dads, and because the show is not the typical family thing where it's like dad, young kids type situation,
Right.
maybe he's not mentioned as much, but I gotta say, Martin Crane in terms of TV
Yeah.
dads is one of the best.
He is, yeah.
You know,
Because I'm just coming along from doing this show, talking to you, man, and his role, like I feel like he was a modern Fred Sanford in a way.
oh yeah, he's the bygone era. I mean, that's kind of what his
Yeah,
character serves as purpose. He's the guy reacting with like that point of view.
exactly.
But he is one of the best TV dads. So shout out Martin Crane, shout out John Mahoney,
John
shout out
Mahoney.
rest in peace. And Martin, at the beginning of this episode, comes right in with Eddie, his dog, and he's like, "You're never gonna guess what this thing ate. It's crazy." And Frasier, being the wet blanket he's like, "Are you gonna do this again? You guys always do this." Dad comes in, guess what he ate? Daphne says some dumb shit, and I gotta hear this while I'm getting ready for my very classy life. I don't want to hear this. And Martin's like, okay, fine. Fuck it. Fuck me.
Yeah, we won't play this game then. And then Niles, he comes in and he tells Frasier, "There's a half-eaten lizard in your elevator."
And Martin's like, oh, that's the only guess you're going to get, guys. Mystery solved. But Niles gives tickets to Frasier. It's a race, like a horse race.
A horse race.
Yeah, he can't go, so he gives it to Frasier. And Frasier, would usually ask Niles. Niles can't go because it's just kind of weird for him. The jockeys, the very small people. It just reminds him of Maris, I think, is what he says. It reminds him of his newly divorced wife. So Martin and Daphne aren't available either. So now Frasier has a conundrum. He needs to call a friend, but as they're discussing this, Frasier realizes he doesn't have any friends, Steve.
And apparently he's lost his knack for making friends. But Martin reminds him, "You never had a knack for making friends. It's really just been you and Niles."
Yeah. You guys would be in the corner talking about people's pleats and, fucking whatever. And just never really were good at it. And I get as a 40 something year old man, Steve, I feel like I can be sociable, but I still find it hard to make a friend at this age,
Same. So I can relate to Frasier. I mean, I didn't always feel this way. I felt like I was pretty easy making friends, but even in my mid 30s and especially now, it's just I don't have the will. I'm kind of cool. I'm at peace with the friends that I do have.
I agree. And I'm trying my best, but here's the problem for me is that if any sort of difference comes up that's even a minor thing or even a weird thing like how they chew food or something, the yeeting of a new person into my life can happen immediately, Stephen, for no reason. Frasier, he's like, guys, okay, whatever, Dad. But all that aside, I think this would be a great topic for my show. I got a show. I can have all the friends I want, bitches. So fuck you. And that's basically how that scene ends. Cut to the show. Frasier puts it right into action. He's talking about, friendship and making friends. And he tells his listeners, like, hey, man, I hope that if you saw me in the streets, you would approach me because I would love to meet you guys. I'd love to meet a new friend,
But Roz stops this with like, "Hey, Frasier, I got a PSA. Dude, have you lost your mind?
Yeah, are you
Like
stupid?
you're inviting all of these weirdos and lunatics and freaks into your life.
Yeah.
Is that what you really want?"
Yeah, and as soon as she hits the cough button back on and he goes back on air, you find out she's right because Gerard calls in because what Frasier said really moved him. It is hard to make a friend. He's like, maybe we could get together sometime for a beer. That's right up Frasier's alley. He used to go to Cheers. He sounds okay, and he's like, I don't know. Maybe I could comb your hair. I don't know. And so that's where the worm really starts turning, Steve.
A little bit later, you hear Frasier telling this guy, "Dude, I don't have 5,000 for your French fry machine."
The
The
Spuddy
buddy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I guess it was a bad idea. And then Roz, after the show, she's like, okay, weird enough, but okay, you want to read the faxes you got from these fucking freaks? And I gotta love that. I never thought of that. Because fax machines to me were like, I don't know, sort of a weird thing. But the fact that there were weirdos back in the day who had access to a fax machine and might fax like a radio station or something, that's terrifying, Steve.
I mean,
nice
all you needed
dick.
was a library card.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, so he sifts through them, but then he finds out of the duds, this guy Bob Reynolds sent a fax, and Bob doesn't seem like a freak. He's not talking about combing of hair or like his nipples. Nothing. No QAnon shit. Nothing. He just seems like a nice guy. So Frasier's like, you know what? Time to put my money where my mouth is here. I'm going to arrange a meeting with this guy. Let's make a friend. This is a crazy idea. This is weird. Friendship in this way, Steve, this is like a dating service almost. Like, I don't like this. This is like Tinder for friends.
Yeah, very weird. And those things actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's very strange times that we're in now, especially. I mean, Frasier would be cleaning up. If it was now, he would be getting his dick sucked constantly, possibly in a car. or in Cafe Nervosa, which is where we go. Niles sits down because Frasier's already got a table. This is a stat quo basically. He sits down, but Frasier's like, "Hey man, this is kind of awkward, but I'm not here to hang out with you. I'm here to hang out with my new friend, Bob." And
You dumping me for a guy named Bob?
yeah. Then the waitress comes over and is like, "Frasier, somebody is here saying that they're here to meet you." And Niles is like, "Probably the much ballyhooed Bob." And he gets petty and leaves. And Frasier goes over and sits down at a table with Bob. And Bob seems like a nice guy, Steve. He doesn't get up to shake a hand, but he's chilling. He seems pretty cool. And Bob, to me, I mean, this guy's famous, Steve. He was on This Is Us, the TV show. He looks like that guy, Harry Dean Stanton,
He
who was in
does.
a lot of weird shit, but it's
Griffin
not
Dune.
him. Yeah.
He does look like him. I was thinking that.
Yeah. At first, it's all good. Bob's like basically sucking Frasier's dick, metaphorically. He's like, "Man, everything you say is gold. And what I love most about you is you're funny." And who doesn't want to hear that, Steve?
How about some coffee? And then after that, get some barbecue. You eat barbecue? Well, maybe on holidays, 4th of July.
Turns out Bob, barbecue freak, Steve. What he
He's like,
did do, because I just want to make sure that it's not confusing. Bob quotes Mark Twain while he's giving Frasier respect. So Frasier's like, "Well, we're fucking simpatico here." So as he's realizing this, he's like, "Look, man, after these coffees are done, you're a cool guy. Let's go out to eat." And Bob's like,
yeah.
"Cool." So they leave it at that. But then Frasier sees that book and he's like, "What's that book? Is that like another, like the Iliad or something classy?" And Bob's like, "Oh no, it's the barbecue Bible. I'm a barbecue." He loves barbecue, Steve, all of it. Mesquite, smoke, whatever. He loves it all, Steve.
Yeah, he's
Ribeyes,
like Bubba when it comes to this barbecue.
mustard rubs, dry brines, wet brines, Steve. He loves it all. And he won't stop talking about it. And in order to get this to stop, because Frasier is like the anti-barbecue guy, Steve. I don't get it. Barbecue is one of my favorite foods. It's delicious. I love making it. But Frasier, obviously, he's a man about town, Steve. He's a classy gentleman. He doesn't want to eat, smoked meats, I guess.
To try to break the ice, still after hearing all of this about barbecue, he's like, "Well, you're a photographer as well, right? So, like, what kind of pictures do you take?" He's like, "Well, I take kids' pictures at Value Mart."
What's your equipment? He's like, it's just what they got, man. I don't know. I work at Sears. So this whole thing's blowing up in his face. He's already agreed to go out with Bob. So he's committed to at least a dinner. That sucks in and of itself. Here's where we get into the problems with new friends. Maybe it sounds good at first, but then you start meeting them and start learning all these things. It sucks.
Fraser, he tells Bob, like, "You know what about that dinner?" Because he's about to tell him, like, "Man, this isn't a good idea." And right as he says that, Bob pulls away from the table, and that's when he realizes, "Oh, this man's in a wheelchair."
Son of a bitch. I don't get this as a man of psychology, Steve, but Fraser's a petty man as well. And the optics, weird, I guess. I don't get jumping to that conclusion, but he goes out with Bob. He wheels him out. They go have some barbecue. And this is where we see him later. He's recovering from that. His guts usually have brie and wine. He had to drink beer and have a couple of T-bones. He's just like, this guy is fucking sucks, dude. He just prattles on endlessly about stuff that I hate. And Martin's like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Just throwing him under the bus. He's like, dude, we had to go to this barbecue place, and it was just like a pit of beasts gnawing at a bone. And it's just not his scene, Steve. Daphne is like, well, why don't you just like the equivalent of break up with the guy? If you don't like him, like why won't you do this? And he's like, I'm hesitant because the dude's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I don't get it, Steve.
And Daphne doesn't get it either because she says, like, if you don't like them, it doesn't matter. I've worked with disabled people for 10 years and, they don't like being talked down to or felt sorry for.
That's it. Yeah. But we cut to the like we're now it's morning time. They're having breakfast, and I think this is actually that conversation happened at breakfast. But then a knock happens at the door, and Frasier opens it up, probably expecting Niles, but who's there? Bob with this fucking morning paper and a goddamn thing of bagels. Steve, he wheels in. Frasier's like, Bob, weird question here, but I know I didn't tell you where I lived. I
I made
know
sure I
that.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bob's like, you know what? It's crazy though. We got the internet. You can find out anything if you just look it up on the internet. Frasier needs to call his cybersecurity team because that's pretty crazy. But he showed up, Steve. He had some fucking gifts. He had a couple of bagels, some
Yeah.
good convo about fucking barbecue.
Daphne and Martin are with it. This dude comes in with the paper. I was just asking about the paper. And this dude wheels it, man. I like your timing and I like your selection in bagels. Is that poppy seed?
Yeah, dude. And we're going to get to know that wheelie sound here because we cut away from that. We're back at KACL. Frasier's at work with Roz, and it's been a few weeks since we just saw what happened here. Roz hands him a bunch of phone messages that he got while the show was on, and not a one from a woman, Steve. They're all from Bob. There's like 15 messages here of just
It's
Bob,
40.
just okay, 40. I went low on it.
Yeah.
He's clingy. And he's like, dude, this guy is not letting up. It fucking sucks. This is ugly Jason, Steve.
It totally is. As he's leaving the radio station, he hears the squeaks and he hears it before Roz hears it. It's like only
Dude,
dogs and I can hear it.
do you hear that? That's like a fucking earthquake's coming. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, he's here. I'm telling you, it's Bob. She's like, you're crazy. He's like, I'm not fucking crazy, Roz. He looks crazy. But then we start hearing it, and he's like, oh my God, he's here. And this man of psychology, Steve, he went to Harvard. Instead of just face up to this guy and be like, dude, we can't be friends anymore, he hides under his desk and lets Roz take the bullet, Steve.
I like how they went Jaws style with it, and you could see like the little top of the hat just like creeping past the window. I love that. He's wearing like a Nardwar hat, and Frasier, he's overhearing the conversation Roz is having with Bob, and he's like, I saw that vacancy by Frasier's apartment, and guess who's going to be new neighbors?
Oh, and Frasier hears that and is like, oh. Roz is thrilled because that means Frasier's going to be miserable. He leaves, Bob leaves, and Frasier gets up and he's like, Roz, I need some advice for breaking up with men. And you're clearly the one with the most experience doing that. So what do I do here? Her usual tactic is not going to work in this situation because it's to tell the guy that she loves him and she wants to have his baby. And I don't know, maybe that would work. It'd work on me, Steve, but I don't know. Bob, he just wants a friend. So
We cut back to Cafe Nervosa, and Frasier, he's trying to talk to Niles. He notices that Niles has a coffee that Frasier doesn't usually drink. He's like, dude, that's not what I drink. He's like, this isn't for you. It's for my friend. Oh, you have a friend? Yes, today we are hanging.
yeah. Niles got him a stud, Steve. There's some guy named Ralph sitting at him, a real blue collar guy who's just confused by everything. He's like, honestly, buddy, when you said, do you want coffee? I thought you were just going to bring me a coffee.
Yeah. I can't stay too long. I got 4 more pools to clean, including yours.
I'm running out of daylight, Ralph. He's living in a van down by the river. But Frasier and Bob sit down. Bob's like, man, I'm just glad to hear from you. I feel like I'm the one that's always like making plans, getting you cool Nardwar hats, which here's one for you that I just copped. I just feel like it's all one sided. So it's just nice, that my buddy, my new friend, wanted to see me and wanted to hang out at Cafe Nervosa. Good to see you. But that's not the case, Steve.
Yeah.
It's not.
I thought you'd like it, neighbor. And like Frasier's like, dude, all right, man. So he starts off about to give him his his walking papers, and Bob cuts on. It's like, dude, if you were a woman, I'd swear you were dumping me.
Yeah, well, bud, turns out that's exactly what I'm doing. Bob's like, tell me like what I did wrong at least. And he's like, well, dude, you just fucking are annoying. You won't shut the fuck up. You talk on about barbecue. I could give a shit. It's just a bummer to be around you. Bob's like, geez, man, fucking sucks. I don't know. And Frasier's like, honestly, I would have told you this sooner, but I was just like worried about how it would look. And Bob's like, what does that mean? He's like, well, you know, you're in a wheelchair, and I didn't want you to think I was breaking up with you because you're in a wheelchair. And Bob's like, God, I wish I was that. You know, at least then you would be the dick. But you're Frasier Crane. You're a mental professional, a famous person, and you basically just told me to my face that I suck.
Pretty much.
That hurts. So Frasier doesn't like to hear that. I mean, he feels terrible. So he's like, you know what? You know what, Bob? I was lying this whole time. I don't think anything's wrong with you at all. I think you're cool. I love barbecue. I love it all. But I think it's gross that you're in a wheelchair, and that's why I don't want to be around you. So Bob's like, wait, are you serious? And Frasier's like, yep. I can't explain it. It just makes me uncomfortable. Okay, that's it. Bye. And Bob's like, dude, that's crazy, and starts making a scene, Steve.
I got you this ugly ass Nardwar hat. I got you all these barbecue sauces, honey, tobacco. Man, you know how hard it is to get tobacco barbecue?
Yeah, dude. You know how much this mesquite costs? And can you believe this, everybody? Frasier Crane, noted psychologist. He doesn't want to hang out with me because I'm in a wheelchair. And everyone in the fucking Cafe Nervosa, Frasier's home, Steve. This is his place of business, basically. Everyone's like, oh my God. And this one couple that's close to Bob is like, sir, first of all, shame on you, Frasier Crane. But Bob, do you want to, we're about to go out to dinner. Do you want to go out with us? And Bob's like, you know what? I'd love that. Do you like barbecue? And the couple's like, who doesn't like fucking barbecue? And I'm with that. But
Yeah, facts.
so he looks like a jerk, Steve. Basically clears Cafe Nervosa. People are disgusted. They go out to get out of here with their lattes. But there's one open seat there, Steve, that's always open. It was with the Niles. Ralph's gone. He left.
Yeah, he turns around and Niles kicks open that seat. And one of the things Frasier said to Niles earlier in the episode that he was kind of like always a fallback plan, like always had to fall back on Niles. And Niles took offense to that because it's like a sneak diss. And true to life, here we are. The ending scene. Up here we are.
They talk about penny loafers and hems on pants, Steve. I mean, it can't get more Frasier than that. That's the Crane boys right there.
Yeah.
But what a
They only
great
get each other.
episode. What a great fucking episode.
Yeah. Two Martins in one episode. Two radio hosts.
Meeting of the Minds. See? Parallels, Steve. They actually had a show together too, I think, at one point in the 2000s, Frasier and Martin, for like two
They did.
episodes. But, you know,
What happened with that?
I just think that it was just like somebody like our age that was like, what if Frasier and Martin were in the same show? But they never thought anything beyond that. It was like, I write it? Oh, shit. Fuck. Okay.
Now what?
You're
Yeah.
lawyers. I don't know. Whatever.
Is that what they were?
I think they were lawyers, I think. If I remember correctly. It was very disappointing for me as a fan of both shows, but, you know, salute.
Yeah.
They gave it a shot, you know?
1998, Fallen debuts in theaters. Homicide detective John Hobbs witnesses the execution of serial killer Edgar Reese. Soon after the execution, the killings start again, and they are very similar to Reese's style. Directed by Gregory Hoblet, starring Denzel Washington, John Goodman, Donald Sutherland, M. Beth Davids, James Gandolfini, and Elias Koteas. Casey Jones.
Casey Jones, dude, playing a serial killer, Steve. Some kind of demon serial killer who can put his soul just out there in the ether to travel, you know?
He traveled to Ohio to meet a man who could speak Syrian Aramaic to help him with his dialogue. And the man was happy to help, but wouldn't utter the curse words in the speech for religious reasons.
This was one of those like random rentals in high school that me and my buddies got, but it's a great movie. It's a great horror movie. Great premise where this I think he was a serial killer, some sort of murderer. He gets put to death, and his soul somehow can travel into the bodies of these people within a certain amount of time. Like I think there's like a time limit on how long it can be outside of a body.
It's kind of like evil cooties.
Yeah, exactly. It's ultimate COVID, basically, where you cough, it gets into somebody else. But Denzel got this guy on death row, thinks his job's over. But then this killer's soul, or like this demon soul, starts doing this shit again. They start investigating it. And then as this movie starts culminating, this soul sort of like antagonizing Denzel. Like, so he'll be walking down the street and people will be like looking at him real hard, and it'll just keep going from person to person, which makes it super interesting because he'll like kill a guy and then it'll go into somebody else. Like, eventually it goes into John Goodman, who's like his partner in this. It gets crazy, you know?
In this one scene, John Goodman calls Denzel a monkey face pussy, and I had to, I play that on repeat, and I don't know, it's hilarious. Dan Connor calling Denzel monkey face pussy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, man, sometimes you improv and whatever comes out, it just comes out, Steve. But I just always thought it was one of those where it's like, clearly, you know, there's no like CGI. They just throw a
No,
filter and put some shit on it, like make it look weird when it's like, you know, the point of view of this demon. But it's just kind of like a thriller movie, and I dug it. Like, it's
same.
one of there's not like a happy ending at the end. It's not like
No,
cheesy. It's just kind of creepy the whole time. It's one of those, I don't think you don't hear a lot of people talking about it, especially if they're talking about like Denzel movies.
you don't. And it's got a star-studded cast, man. You got Donald Sutherland and you got Tony Soprano in it too, man.
And Casey Jones. I mean, Casey Jones is the best part Elias Koteas ever did, but this is right up there, Steve. And he has to, what is the song he sings? Because there's like a creepy song that he's always singing. He sings it when he dies, and then that's
Yeah,
how Denzel kind of knows people are like possessed because they start singing that shit to him in the streets. I forget, it's some '70s song or like
it
some.
was. Time is on my side. Yes, it
Yes, it is.
is.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. It's this is good. Check out Fallen. This is definitely a keeper in the '90s pile.
A hidden gem of a Denzel movie. Also in 98, Half Baked premieres. The story of three not so bright men who come up with a series of crazy schemes to get a friend out of jail. Directed by Tamara Davis, starring Dave Chappelle, Jim Brewer, Harlan Williams, Guillermo Diaz, and Clarence Williams III. Yes!
Human
Human
me.
being.
Shut up, bitch. This movie has always been a classic to me. This, I think, this wasn't the first pot movie that I loved because I was like kind of into Cheech and Chong when I was young, and just you saw titties and they talked about weed. I thought it was funny, but this is the one that got me, Steve. This is it. You
Yeah.
know,
I think the first pot movie I fell in love with was Friday, but that was before I
I,
was smoking
shit.
pot.
Yeah, and I guess that is a pop movie. It is, but I don't know. For some reason, that just to me is just a great comedy, and it's not doesn't fall into this like subgenre of pod comedy as much.
You got a
But
point.
you
It's
know,
got like 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of deal, but Half Baked, it might be my first like pop movie love.
I mean, and it's crazy because I know, you know, we didn't see this in the theater. I didn't.
I didn't.
George and Sonia bought this for me at Target after we got through with whatever grade it came out on VHS. I remember that specifically. Last day of school, we had this little like thing that we do. We go out to eat, celebrate, summer's happening. We went to Target, got me the copy of this, and for some reason they never figured that out. But yeah, dude, it's a classic. It's got two guys writing it that we didn't even know about it. Well, we knew who Dave Chappelle was, but Neil Brennan had no idea who the fuck he was. And
Yeah.
they made this movie that to me is it's 100%. But if you read the reviews of this shit, this is not a highly rated movie, and I don't understand that at all.
I think the cult phenomenon, the cult following didn't happen until it was released on VHS and came out on the various like pay-per-view. Because the first time I watched it, it was on pay-per-view. It was like, man, some of my friends in school were quoting it. I was like, man, I got some spinning change. Let's give this a gander. And yeah, man, they did double the budget though. The budget was 8 million. The box office was 17.5 million. But apparently Dave Chappelle, he wasn't even pleased with the final product because he said that his version and the finalized version are two different stories.
Yeah, he thought this was more like too cartoony, basically, it seems like is what he said. And I don't know, I kind of like the surreal nature of it, and like sort of it does like the colors and like the way the sets look and stuff. It's very simple, but I think it's great. Just the amount of quotables in this movie from the people, the main characters, like all of them are great. Harlan Williams kills it. Dave Chappelle kills it. Guillermo Diaz kills it. Even Jim Brewer kills it.
Jim
You
Brewer.
know, everybody does, but even like just like the characters Dave Chappelle plays, the fucking Sir Smoke a Lot guy,
Sir
all the
Smoke a Lot.
all the cameos, all of it is just fantastic.
The different kinds of potheads, the Jon Stewart, Snoop Doggy Dogg, Willie Nelson, Stephen Baldwin.
Yeah, Jon Stewart, he was the enhancement smoker that needs it just to be like, have you ever done this on weed? Stephen Baldwin was the MacGyver smoker who can make a bong out of anything. Willie Nelson was the old school smoker who just, you remember you know how much condoms cost when I was young? Neither do I, because we never used them.
And Janine Garofalo, she was the smoker too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. I forget what her characterization was, but she was just like in a room by herself writing like dark poetry and smoking weed. So,
Yeah. Then of
maybe,
course the guy on the couch, Stephen Wright.
yeah, dude, Stephen Wright. I always love the energy of like the weird effeminate guy who brings the weed delivery. Like, you see these red hairs?
And
All
then
of it.
again, Tracy Morgan, the man needs nothing but 2 seconds to kill some shit. He was like the Rastafarian guy introducing the video.
So smoke a la. Him, Bob Saget, and David from The Real World. Man,
Yeah.
you in here for some marijuana? Marijuana? Man, this is so bullshit.
Oh.
Marijuana's not an addiction. I suck dick for coke. You ever suck some dick for some marijuana? No, I haven't. Huh?
Oh man, Nasty Nate.
Yeah, dude, nasty. Harlan Williams' whole like storyline is one of the funniest things. Where he's in his cell, like, naughty jungle of love. No.
Man, I forget the scene where he's talking to the horse and a black lady walks by him. You hungry, girl? Fuck you. I was talking to the horse.
Yeah, dude. The way her voice hits that. Fuck
You.
Yeah, dude. How he goes to jail is very like he kills that horse. The cops' reaction, like, dude, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I just fed him some popcorn and some pizza. This horse is a diabetic. And then he's just getting like,
I didn't even know horses can have diabetes, but
hell yeah.
speaking of Cheech and Chong, dude, Chong is in the movie. He's Squirrel Master.
Oh, come on, Nate. Come on, Nate.
Squirrel Master will not be for you all the time. So the next time I call for you, I'm gonna want your cocktail. Fruit.
Take it.
Oh my god! Like you said, too many quotables, man. Like we quoted this through high school, through college, all the way through adulthood, and it just like the Martin CD player episode. This will live rent free in our heads.
And Mary Jane, just got a shout out to Mary Jane because
Mary Jane.
I used to just be
Oh my
so.
goodness.
I mean, I kind of married a chick that looks like Mary Jane a little bit, so she just left an indelible mark on my life, Steve, in more ways than one. Mary Jane, I'm talking about.
Rachel True. Yes. Shout out to Rachel True.
I got some booty. I got some booty. I got some booty. You know, it was really good too.
She was in that witch movie The Craft.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. She was hot in that. She's the kind of what set it all. Her and Nev Campbell. The other ones I could do without, but those two, I'll get on a Ouija board. Let's do this. I'll get naked right now.
On that same day in '98, Hard Rain premieres. The partner and nephew of an armored truck driver tries to prevent $3 million from being taken by a gang during a catastrophic flooding caused by a severe storm. Directed by Mikhail Solomon, starring Morgan Freeman, Christian Slater, Randy Quaid, Minnie Driver, Ed Asner, Richard Dysart, and Betty White.
And Steve, this ain't winning awards, but I'm saying you go to the library, you pick up Hard Rain for free or for a limited amount of money and watch it. And I guarantee you're not going to come away going, this sucked. This wasn't good. It's got a lot of fun little action. And it's got the gimmick that this whole town is flooded, right? So at some point, these guys are chasing each other on boats, crashing through buildings during a flood. and trying to shoot each other and stuff. It's just got a lot of like good mood in it. It's shot well, and it's got Morgan Freeman and Christian Slates, bruh. Did you know at the time of the filming that this movie had the largest painted scenic backdrop ever used in a film? So it shares that designation. Stop judging so goddamn much. Maybe let me see a couple other fun facts about Hard Rain. Did you know that the morning after the film's LA premiere, Christian Slater reported to Ventura City Jail to begin a 90-day prison sentence for drug offenses, assault, and battery. He would be released after 57 days and enrolled in an anti-addiction program immediately thereafter. So, Christian was going through some things, Steve.
So he probably wouldn't look at this time in a light way either.
Well, it was also originally called The Flood, but they thought that was a little too derivative. They were like, let's figure something else out. And many of the sets, such as the cemetery where Tom hides the money in, were actually water tanks with sets built within them. I'm telling you right now, from my perspective, this is right up there with Deep Blue Sea.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
It's right. It's that quality. You don't like Deep Blue Sea, Steve?
Never seen it.
Oh my God! It's got LL and Samuel L. Jackson and Thomas Jane, the Punisher, and Party Boys.
It's on the list. But Hard Rain, 70 million was the budget, 19.9 in the box office.
So you're saying Hard Rain, hard pass.
Hard pass. But any callbacks, honorable mentions?
Well, I'm going to give you the choice, Steve. Do you want 90s trivia, or do you want to see more of the stuff that I pulled out of these boxes that I think is notable or cool?
90s trivia.
Okay. Well, we'll bring that out. 90s trivia. Shout out to George Leroy, who gave me this for Christmas, knowing we'd use it. He insists that we use it. So I'm glad you picked this.
Shout out to George Leroy.
He's just the best. But, Steve, who shot Mr. Burns in The Simpsons?
Maggie Simpson.
What is the name of the unique language spoken by Furbies?
Goo Goo Doo Doo.
Close. Furbish. Furbish. That's what I was looking for. And I'm going to give you two more just to see if we can figure this out. In what year did sovereignty over Hong Kong transfer from the United Kingdom to China? And I would use the movie Rush Hour as a reference because it was highly referenced in the story of that.
1998.
So close. 97, Steve.
97.
Love the UK. Just at some point they just had to start giving shit back that they stole from people. You gotta love that. They got theirs.
They still owe a lot.
Yeah, they definitely got a few more things to give back. But last question. I think you got this, Steve, because it was something happened at this. But in what U.S. city were the 1996 Summer Olympic Games held?
Atlanta.
Yep. Statlander, Steve, and I'm going to give you the win here. I don't know exactly what the score was. I think you're 2 for 2. Two wins, 2 losses.
2 and 2. Okay, I'll live with that.
Yeah.
And all I got, man, I got actually a couple things. 94, Living Single was airing The Hand That Robs the Cradle, and that features a young Terrence Howard. He's dating Maxine Shaw, attorney-in-law, man.
These motherfuckers, man. Maxine, motherfucker, man.
It kicked me out of Iron Man. But in 95, Monday Night Raw, they get a guest cameo from William Shatner, the Shat Man himself.
Shat dog.
Yeah, he gets it in with Jerry Lawler. He does his tumbles and tosses in the ring. That was pretty cool. 98, Family Matters airing. Breaking up is hard to do, and that is when Steve and Myra break up. And I think this is the episode where Johnny Cochran makes a cameo at the end, and he's supposed to be representing Myra because she's taking him to court for breach of contract in the court of love. And oh man, 99. We just covered Walker, so I didn't want to do it too fresh, but Walker Texas Ranger is airing Special Witness in 99, and that has a Gary Busey
Dude,
feature.
I watched the beginning of this just because it was playing after the last episode.
I hope she
Busey
did.
just straight killing a guy in broad daylight, Steve.
Broad
Cold
daylight
blooded.
in front of a special needs person, and the fact that they call this special witness, I don't know. I guiltily found that hilarious, but like at one point he was going to kill her because he like the guy that's doing all the hiring for this. He's like, man, you left one thing out. There's one thing. He's like, what? You want me to kill the retard? It's like, whoa, 90s, slow down.
I've been doing blow all afternoon. You want me to kill that retard?
He straight up says that. Like, and he was about that. He was going to do that. But we just covered DJ being evil and with Turbo or Nitro. It's like, man, Walker, we'll revisit. We'll come back.
God, dude, the fucking gem of a show, Steve. I didn't even know it was just that filled with just nice little treats. Gary Busey,
Dude, just like John
honestly
Goodman, I
looking
feel like I
it
was
might have been
taking Walker
post
for granted.
motorcycle
Like,
accident because his forehead's kind of fucked up in it, Steve. He's got that like look to him.
Yeah, always. And also, I think Dion was in the beginning of this episode because they're doing the Special Olympics. And Dion, he's a man of the people. It's got Dion and his wife at the time, Pilar, the mother of Shador. They were like, I guess, you know how they have celebrities come in and like, hey, you can do it. So yeah, that was cool because he's my goat, my favorite.
Prime time, dude. Prime time's a beast, Steve. I respect that.
But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister, shut up, bitch. Check out Food Show Fanatics, as well as Crushgasm and our guy Clark the Shark on Podcastle. This is Steve G and Matt G with
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the flat kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Sometimes I just want to throw it all down and get lifted.